This is Investigation 2, Part 3, Twirly Birds.
Ooh.
Montgomery, sit down. That's not what I meant.
Oh.
We're going to make twirly birds and observe their pattern of motion.
Oh, okay. I got confused with the other bird.
Please do not act like Mr. Montgomery just did, because that is not acceptable behavior for third graders or third grade teachers. Moving on.
Sorry, Miss G.
You should have a sheet that looks like this. Please listen carefully. You are going to need to follow directions as we cut out the twirly birds. It is going to be very important that you follow only the directions given in the video. Which right now, Mr. Montgomery, includes you sitting in your chair. So, what we're going to do first with this sheet is we're going to cut it into 4 different strips. And we're only going to cut on the horizontal, that means this way, solid black lines. We're not cutting on any dotted lines. So I'm going to take my paper and my scissors and I'm safely going to cut on the solid black lines to separate each twirly bird from the others. All right. I guess if you want, you can trim off this little strip at the end.
And each of these are going to eventually be turned into a twirly
bird. Are twirly birds like angry birds?
I don't know.
I just
We'll have
wondered.
to figure that out.
All right. So we have our 1, 2, 3, 4 twirly birds cut out. And that's all you need to do for step 1, cutting out the twirly birds.
Mm-hmm.
So raise your hand, pause the video, cut them out, raise your hand, and have your teacher check them. We are moving on to section 2, which is construct the twirly birds.
Construct means build.
Good job.
Thanks.
Like build a nest?
Yeah.
Like,
But not-
and so they built, the book we read last week?
Oh, that was a very good book.
Moving on.
All right, so you have 4 twirly birds here. One is actually going to be in case you make a mistake, so that's going to be put off to the side. You don't need that one right now. So I'm going to demonstrate how to make a twirly bird, and you're going to make 3 of them after the video. So
Please watch carefully. This is important.
yeah, so the big thing to remember for making your twirly bird is you have to cut on the solid lines. Do not cut on any of the dotted lines. So let me show you what I mean. Here's a solid line. I'm going to cut straight down. I'm going to stop as soon as I get to that dotted line. Okay, where else do you see a solid line?
There's 1, 2 right here.
1, 2. So I'm going to cut in and stop right about there, because that's where the solid line stops. And on the other side, I'm going to cut in and stop where the solid line stops. Once you have cut on all the solid lines, the dotted lines are for you to fold. Okay?
So cut on solid lines, fold on dotted lines.
Yep. So here's the dotted line. I'm going to fold it back. Here's another dotted line. I'm going to fold it back.
It reminds me of the letter T.
Yeah.
T for twirly bird.
Yeah, maybe that's why I did it. Here's another dotted line. We're going to fold one, these are the wings actually. One wing back, and then the other wing forward.
So those need to go in opposite directions.
Opposite directions. Okay.
So if I look at this, I see the letter T, and then a wing that's forward and a wing that's back.
Awesome, yep. And then at the bottom, you'll need your paper clip from your toolkit, and the paper clip gets stuck on the bottom of the twirly bird like that to hold it together.
Sweet. So you have a letter T with wings, paper clip together at the bottom, and you have a twirly bird.
And you just need to make 1, make it again, 2, make it again, 3. Raise your hand when you have all 3 twirly birds made, and your teacher will come in.
We're not doing anything
Check.
except making them, right?
Just making them.
Okay, make your twirly birds, pause the video, let us know when you're ready. Step 3 is to fly your standard twirly bird. So,
Notice that these are the twirly birds we made originally. We have not changed anything on them right now. And when in science, when you have something you start with and you haven't changed anything about it, That's called your
standard.
So these are our standard twirlybirds, and we just want to see how they fly without changing anything right now.
Right.
So to fly your twirlybirds, we're going to
throw them at you?
No.
Sorry.
To fly your twirlybirds the right way, the scientific way, you're simply going to hold it up as high as you can hold it up.
And if you're Mr. Montgomery, that's really high. If you're Mrs. G, it's not so high.
So you're going to hold it up as high as you can, okay? And the big thing here is you're not throwing it up in the air, you're not throwing it down. You just simply hold it up as high as you can, let it go, step back, and
observe the pattern of motion. So it's kind of like our systems that we use with our ramp. We're just going to put it in place, let it go, observe the pattern of motion.
Yep. No throwing, no
pushing,
just holding it up, dropping it, stepping back, and observing the pattern of motion.
So make sure right now that you fly your standard twirlybird, which is really just means to drop your standard twirlybird, observe the pattern of motion, and then raise your hand, and your teacher will come over and check your understanding.
Make sure to have a great conversation with your partner about what you saw. What was the pattern of motion when you dropped your
standard twirlybird?
Your standard twirlybird.
So this is part 4, draw and label the twirlybird. So you're going to need to get a piece of paper and a pencil and draw your twirlybird. And you need to label the different parts of it. So maybe I want to label parts like the wings, the paper clip, the body. Make sure that you draw it in detail and then you label it as well so that we know the different parts of your twirlybird.
Draw it this big, right?
No. You need to draw it big enough because you're going to take a picture of it and put it in your science notebook.
Oh.
So you need to make sure it's big enough and that you have labels so that Mr. Montgomery and I know what you're talking about.
That makes sense. The bigger you draw it, the easier it'll be able to see when you take a picture of it with your computer and put it on your computer screen.
Number 5, changing one variable. So I have the standard twirlybird. That means I have the one that we haven't changed at all. It's the one that we're going to base all of our other observations off of because you already know how the standard twirlybird flies.
Yep. And I'm going to have the one that we changed a variable. Now,
Mr. Montgomery, what's a variable?
Very good question, because this is something we all need to know as scientists. A variable is when you change something on your system that actually affects the outcome.
Or in this case, how it
flies.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, again, like cause and effect. There's a lot of cause and effect in science. But if I change something on this original, the standard twirlybird, then it should fly different than the original. More than likely, It's going to fly different. So the first variable you're going to actually change is you're going to add, instead of just one paper clip at the bottom, you're going to add 2 paper clips at the bottom. Notice that Miss G's standard twirlybird only has 1 paper clip. Mr. Montgomery's variable twirlybird has 2 paper clips.
Now, before you fly it, it's important that you watch the next section of the video, which is going to talk about the table called changing one variable in your science notebook that you need to complete. So before you actually fly this twirlybird, please watch the next section so that you can complete the part of your science notebook that you need to.
Yep, and just another reminder, when you fly the twirlybirds, okay, it's very important that you hold them above your head, but you have them at the same height.
Yeah, because we only want to change one variable. If we were changing heights, that would be more than one variable.
Yep, so notice that I have them right next to each other, the same height. I don't want to have one up here and one down here, or vice versa. They should be right next to each other. Let it go at the same time. Step back and notice what happened when you changed the variable of adding another paperclip.
Right. So what you need to do right now is watch the next section of this video, which talks about the changing one variable slide in your science notebook. And then you need to follow those directions, and then you'll go ahead and make the changes, change the variable, and then fly them.
This video is going to explain what to do in number 5, which is changing one variable. So you need to go into your science notebook, and then you're going to click on the second slide, which is your table of contents. Click on twirlybirds, and then go to the first slide of Twirly Birds. And then from there, you're going to go down to the slide that says changing one variable. It should be around slide 18. What you're going to do is you're going to fill in this chart. So you need to go ahead and describe the variable you are changing. You have been given the variable that you're changing for the first one. So it should be, think about what you've been told. You're adding a paperclip. So go ahead and type in this first box right here. I would type adding a second paperclip. Write a focus question. So you are going to make your own focus question for this investigation. So you have a sentence starter already there. What happens to the motion of the twirly bird if I think about the variable you are changing, and right here, type the variable you are changing. When you have that done, you're going to come over into this column and write a prediction about how the motion will change. You already have a sentence starter. I predict that. You can go ahead and highlight this blank and then type your own words there. You will need to add a period to the end of that sentence. You need to fill in 1, 2, 3 boxes before you fly your twirly bird. After you have filled in those 3 boxes, then you're going to do the investigation. You're actually going to fly or drop that twirly bird. And then in this column over here, you're going to describe what happened. What did you observe? How was it different from the standard twirly bird? So it says, what happened when you flew both twirly birds and compared their motion? So for number 5 on investigation 3, you not only need to change your variable, but you also need to fill in this chart on slide 18 of your science notebook.
Step 6 is changing another variable.
Yes, ma'am. So you still have the standard twirly bird, which we haven't changed anything on.
Nope.
I'm going to have the variable twirly bird, and notice that I took the other paperclip off because we already did that. We already saw the difference between the standard and the variable with 2 paperclips, how they flew differently.
And we only made one change, and that was the paperclips. That's our one variable. It's really important when we're doing this that we're only changing one thing.
Yep.
One variable.
Because you want to see what does that one change do
to affect the outcome.
Yep, yep. So for this experiment, you're going to cut the wings shorter. Talk to your partner. What do you think would happen if you cut the wings shorter?
What would happen?
I'm not sure. Well, I do have a guess, but I don't want to give it away. So if you look here, here's my wings. I'm going to cut the wing in half. I'm going to cut each wing in half.
2 equal parts.
Yep, straight down the middle. Cut the wings shorter. So, okay, I want you to make sure you predict with your partner, how do you think this twirly bird will fly?
Yeah, so you're not doing anything in your science notebook. You're just having really great conversation.
Yeah.
So I might say, Mr. Montgomery, I predict that when we cut the wing shorter, the twirly bird will. I think that's a really good sentence starter.
I love it. And remember, you have to fly your variable twirly bird, in this case the one with the wings shorter, you have to fly it with your standard. So you hold both of them up, again, not one higher than the other, side by side, drop them at the same time, and step back and see what's different when you cut the wings shorter than when you keep it all the original, the standard.
So does the pattern of motion change when we change the variable of the length of the wings? So go ahead and complete those steps, have really great conversations with your partner, and then check in with, raise your hand and your teacher will check in with you. You're going to need to be able to tell us what you predicted and then the actual observation you made when you changed the variable of the wing length.